Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar today. This morning we're going to be discussing Windows XP support and Microsoft's ending of Windows XP support in April and how that can affect you as our customers and what we can do to help you with that situation and what we can do to help you work through it. This is the agenda that we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering a little bit about ourselves, Bytes Security Partnerships, talk about the purpose of this webinar, obviously then work through the questions in hand around XP and around the things that are occurring with the end of XP support and how you can deal with it. First things first, a little bit about us. We were purchased by the Bytes Technology Group in the UK in August 2011, so we've been owned by Bytes now for 2.5 years. And we very much like to think that we combine all the benefits of a small reseller alongside the security of being part of a large group. So as a small reseller, we still have the ingenuity, agility, and responsiveness that we always had, and we are still passionate and proud about what we do. However, as part of a larger group, we have a lot of security behind us and a lot of backing behind us. And also, for our existing customers, we have other services effectively available now. Bytes Software Services, the largest Microsoft reseller and award-winning Microsoft reseller in the UK. Bytes Document Solutions are one of the largest Xerox resellers in the UK. And between the three businesses, we're able to put together some really good offerings and really good solutions, both around procurement and around technology. We do still operate as independent businesses. We have no crossover in our accounts and that kind of stuff, but we are able to shuffle things around at the back end and make sure you can have a single procurement path if you want. So that's a little bit about us. Windows XP, well, as it says on the slide, all good things come to an end. Released in October 2001, Windows XP has been great for business. It's been stable, it's been reliable, it still is stable and reliable. And a lot of businesses have adopted it. A lot of businesses didn't move on from XP when Vista came out. A lot of businesses have moved on to Windows 7. But there's a lot of applications out there that were written for Windows XP that still run on Windows XP and that businesses can't move on from. There are very much two schools of thought on this. There are certain people out there that are saying XP-based machines will continue to work absolutely perfectly. And you know what? To a large degree, they are absolutely right. But as of December last year, a third of machines based on browsing were still Windows XP. And I'm going to talk about why actually it isn't all right to stay on Windows XP, and you do need to be looking at moving on to a supported operating system on the next few slides, because it is very important from an IT security point of view. You guys are on this webinar today because you are IT security people, because IT security matters to you, and there are some very compelling reasons why you need to move away from Windows XP, and also why you need to look at alternative technology to make sure that you have all the options covered. What do Microsoft say about it? Well, April 8th, 2014, end of extended support. Windows 7, January 14th, 2020. So you've still got plenty of time if you wanted to move over onto Windows 7 now. Plenty of time to work with it and move on to it. You don't have to be thinking about the fact that if I move to Windows 7, it's a short-lived operating system. You've got 6 years of support there nearly. And Windows 8 only gives you 3 years after that. So for the businesses that aren't sure about Windows 8, there's still no reason not to move on to Windows 7. Yeah, I do particularly like this one. How do I stay protected? Upgrade your current PC. And if you can't upgrade your current PC, get a new one. Probably more relevant for consumers because businesses are where they are and have to do what they have to do. But equally, you can't just roll out new PCs to roll out a new operating system. Some of you will be stuck on XP because of hardware. Some of you will be stuck on XP because of software. This is quite an interesting statistic. You can see here that actually operating system vulnerabilities are not the bulk of vulnerabilities out there. And this kind of flies against the getting rid of XP argument a little bit, I guess. The vast majority of vulnerabilities that are out there are application-based. Operating system and browser-based vulnerabilities bump along the bottom very similarly. But the thing with operating system vulnerabilities is that if you're hitting an operating system by type, everybody's got that vulnerability. And that really is the problem. Applications, you've got Windows machines out there with Windows XP on. You don't know which applications they've got, whereas they've got Windows XP, and you can hit them from there. You can see here in terms of infection rate and encounter rate, well, this is all to do with per 1,000 machines, and you can see Windows XP gets infected way more easily than Vista or Windows 7. And you can also see in terms of the encounter rate, we're encountering it roughly the same amount. So you're getting nearly twice the number of infections for the same number of machines. And that's a telling statistic, even though Windows XP is pretty good. It just doesn't have the latest technology in it for protecting against infection of malware, spyware, all of that kind of stuff. You add to that the fact that it's now not being patched anymore from April the 8th, and you have a problem. How big is that problem? Well, it depends how seriously you take this, zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks are thus called because of how they exist and when they come in. Typically, when a vulnerability is found in an operating system, the people that find that vulnerability notify the manufacturers of that operating system. They give them a grace period to patch it. And the manufacturers do or don't sometimes do that. Microsoft historically actually been very, very good at it. Apple have been much less good at it, it has to be said. A zero-day attack is an attack that is created and released into the wild any time between when the hacker announces or the hacker discovers a vulnerability and when the vendor patches it. And in some cases, that has been as long as 12 months. Now, that's a problem. The follow-on fact of this is that some 80% of vulnerabilities that have been patched in Windows 7 in the last year have also back existed in Windows XP and have perhaps to be patched in XP as well. If you think about April the 8th forward, Windows 7 is still being patched and still being attacked. Windows XP isn't. 80% of the vulnerabilities that are announced after April the 8th will also exist in Windows XP, which basically means every month on Patch Tuesday, Microsoft are announcing a zero-day vulnerability list for Windows XP for people to attack, which is bad news, really, really bad news. And you can see some more information here on in terms of what zero days are and the processes of it are. So yeah, it's bad news if people can attack your machines that easily. I mean, really, really bad news. So obviously the question is, what can be done about it? Well, upgrade, obviously, is the obvious answer. But I mean, here at Bytes SP, we can't upgrade. We have a CRM system which is old. We can run it in Citrix, but we can't just upgrade. So we are in the same boat. We've only got 35 machines though, so that's relatively easy to deal with. Checkpoint have an answer, which is the one I'm going to talk about today, but there are other vendors such as FireEye that also have answers. And the answer here is threat prevention. The ability to emulate code and identify what it does mean. And I mean truly emulate it. I don't mean scan it for signatures. I mean execute it in a true sandbox environment. And that's what Checkpoint R77 can do with its threat prevention stuff. We're emulating multi-OS environments. We're opening the file, and then we're monitoring the behavior, file system, system registry, etc. And we've been running this for some 2-3 months now, and I can really say that it does work. It hasn't caused us any problems. It hasn't got in the way of our business in any way, shape, or form, and it really, really does work. Once it's found something, it can then block it at the gateway and stop it ever getting to the machine. It's fully in line. You can either get it to background scan or scan in the foreground and not let stuff through until it has scanned it. It's either cloud-based or it's host-based on the network, which means you've got that covered in both situations and in both ways. And then once a signature is found, once a vulnerability or threat has been found, it will then share it with all the other checkpoint gateways, which means they don't have to scan the file. They can stop it on a signature. So you've got a very, very powerful tool here indeed. As you can see, inspect, emulate, prevent, and share. That is the whole basis of it. But obviously, threat prevention is only part of the story. Although, if you think about it, something that is executing every file, XEs, VBS, PDF, Office, all the rest of it, as it comes down to your XP machines, means in theory, if there's a file that's going to compromise an XP machine, you're never going to see it. It's only part of it. Here's an example of a report, by the way. So we have here a PDF that was infected, had malware in it. You can see its affected files, processes, all the rest of it. You can see all the different things it did. So it affected files, it modified the registry, it modified processes, attempted a network connection, all things that a PDF should not do. This was stopped in real time, never got down to the end user machine. Phishing emails. Here you can see a Word document. I mean, those of you who know a little bit about the RSA attack, where the RSA seed keys were stolen to compromise the tokens, will know that basically that was done after a 2 to 3 month social engineering exercise, basically, by a recruitment consultant or a phony recruitment consultant who eventually sent a spreadsheet through to somebody in RSA who just opened it with some candidates in it, and it went off and it hacked their network. Threat prevention would have stopped that happening. So really, really important and powerful. You can see here, the statement ID document had a new exploit in it, installed a bot, stole user credentials. This was prevented by Checkpoint Threat Prevention. Because we're actually emulating, we get 0 false positives. Because we only inspect files that need to be inspected and only files that are at risk, we've got good performance. So it's a really, really good solution. You tie that up with Checkpoint's other parts of their threat cloud system with IPS, which is stopping known vulnerabilities and exploits of known vulnerabilities in web code files, that kind of thing. Antivirus, which is basically straight signature-based AV, which is blocking downloads of files that have malware in them that we already know about. An anti-bot, which is then protecting us from connections outbound. And we've actually got a very, very powerful solution. The question now, what about new attacks? That is where threat prevention comes in and threat cloud comes in. So we've got these 4 tiers that put this together, and these 4 tiers that make a great solution for protecting your Windows XP estates. We can't talk about this enough because it is a really, really good solution and it does work very, very well. I talked about the fact that it can be deployed in the cloud or on site. So without further ado, let's go and have a look at the demo of it. We've got that ready to go, so we'll show you that next.